The 14-inch gaming laptop space is essentially divided between two separate devices. Yes, there are occasionally others. In case you approach me and mention that you're looking for a 14-inch gaming laptop, I'll suggest one of the two models, unless there are exceptional circumstances. There have been years when choosing between the Razer Blade 14 and the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 was difficult. However, it seems like 2023 might not be one of those years. The fastest 14-inch laptop made by Razer to date is the Blade 14. Inside is the Ryzen 9 7940HS, among AMD's top-of-the-range most powerful processors. With 8 cores, a 5.2 GHz boost frequency, and a 54 Watt TDP, this chip is a beast. Also, details about the products we speak about will be linked down in the description. The CNC aluminium chassis of the Blade 14 is the foundation of the classic Razer design. This is not stamped metal. The top and bottom sides of the chassis and the lid make up its three constituent parts. The chassis has no flex at all and feels quite sturdy. Separate from the display, the green Razer emblem on the lid is backlit. You may also turn it off, but it supports breathing patterns and static as well. The brightness and color coverage of the Razer screen are far higher than typical, and the anti-glare surface efficiently reduces reflections. Technical highlights include AMD FreeSync Premium to reduce frame tearing, a reported 3ms response time, and a refresh rate of 240 Hz. You won't find touch support here, of course, as a gaming laptop shouldn't have it. The Blade 14 has two USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 connections, two USB-C Type-C connectors, one HDMI 2.1 video output, and a 3.5mm universal audio jack. There's a Kensington lock slot as well. The laptop may be charged using the USB 4 ports, which are compatible with Thunderbolt 4 devices. However, to get the best performance, the accompanying 230 watt adapter needs to be plugged into the proprietary connector on the left edge. With an 8-core, 16-thread Ryzen 9 7940HS CPU, an 8GB Nvidia RTX 4070 GPU, 16GB of RAM, a 1TB SSD, Wi-Fi 6E, and Bluetooth 5.2, the Razer Blade 14 is priced at about $2,800. The AMD's Ryzen 9 7940HS in the Blade 14 was comparable to the Intel Core i7-13620H in the Katana 15, which sounds about appropriate. The AMD processor is not quite as quick as the Core i7 or Core i9 of the Origin or MSI Stealth 14, as it shouldn't be in its class. Even yet, the performance of this AMD CPU is still extremely good for a laptop, and it should work well for both moderate and heavy use. The Razer Blade 14 is a performance powerhouse despite its diminutive size, capable of running nearly any game at high settings at its native 2560 by 1600 resolution. I was able to play using the ray tracing ultra preset, typically sitting around 50 frames per second even in Cyberpunk 2077. Although it averages 49 frames per second in the benchmark, I discovered that when frame creation is off, it usually hovers around 50 frames per second in-game. However, that amount increases significantly with DLSS frame creation. The Razer Blade 14 achieves roughly 74 frames per second on the benchmark and 60 to 70 frames per second in the real game with DLSS 3.0. At least past DLSS, which renders games at a reduced resolution and uses machine learning to upscale them back up, that's more than enough to play any game you throw at it without sacrificing resolution. However, it still can't match the 240 Hz refresh rate. There aren't many 14-inch gaming laptops available, especially not with this strong of a GPU. As of right now, the closest thing is about $1,700. MSI Stealth 14, which comes with an Intel Core i7 processor and an RTX 4060. Although that tiny laptop just has an RTX 4060, you're still not receiving the same power. There is also the Alienware X14. If you can afford the exorbitant price of admission, the Razer Blade 14 is the greatest gaming laptop in its class because of all of this. For a greater comparison, let's check out the MSI Stealth 14 to see which you will opt for.